Get them fired up and get them to the staging lanes, baby, because 8th Mile Apparel is now carrying Going Bracket Racing merch. Hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and much more can be yours today by visiting 8thmileapparel.com. We appreciate each and every one of you guys supporting the Going Bracket Racing YouTube and Facebook pages.
What's up, everybody? Casey and George back with another Tuesday episode of Going Bracket Racing Live, July 9th, 2024, episode 161. Maurice Hall, I see you over here in the YouTube chat saying it might be your first time watching live today. Welcome in, Dennis. Man, you got a crazy last name, Throckmorton. What's up to yourself, George Hall? Gage who? Yeah, we'll get into talking about that here in a little bit. Super Comp, Old Racer, obviously you've been in there for a little bit also. We got to thank those people that help this be live to you guys for free every single Tuesday on Facebook and YouTube. And then, of course, it comes out on the podcast platform, and we appreciate all you guys listening to that as well on your favorite podcasting app. TSR Racing Products, go to them for your Power Glides, Turbo 350s, 400, and 727 transmissions, BRG 3D printed parts. Anything you need, Brian Garrett will print it up for you. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. What you don't need for your race car, get for them. You need to put something on the side of your car like tree chopper, like it says on George's shirt over there. You can put that on there if you want to. Hey, as long as you include that GBR logo, that's fine. No big deal. Driven Racing Oil. Get some oil for your truck. Get some transmission fluid, gear oil, all that stuff. But most of all, whenever you go and buy Driven Racing Oil, definitely use that code GBR10 to get you 10% off, and there's no limit on what you order. GBR10 sends it to your door for free, 10% off. ProForm Parts, visit proformparts.com. Get your shop tools, get your carburetors, alternators, starters, radiators, accessories, all kinds of stuff, and we're getting ready to do a whole bunch of giveaways on that. I actually sent a list over there to ProForm Parts, and it got approved, so we got some giveaways coming to you guys who watch us live week in and week out. It's going to be all free. You don't have to pay anything over here at GBR. We just give stuff out. We don't take it for ourselves. We just give it out to y'all. So maybe that's a good idea. Maybe it's a bad idea, George. But we just want to help the people out that help us out. Crew Chief Pro Software, speaking of helping you out, if you can't figure out your dial-in one day, Don Higgins got it all figured out for you over there at Crew Chief Pro. Visit crewchiefpro.com and figure out what you're going to run every single round in and round out. And, of course, if you want some of those very, very nice shirts or hats like George and I are wearing right now, get you a tree chopper shirt, get you a piss on delay boxes, which hopefully we sold a whole bunch of out there at the WFC because y'all are, they're the main people right there, George. You want just the basic GBR right here? And actually, those Going Bracket Racing shirts with the delay boxes on the back, this is American flag logo, guys. So come on, be American about it. Get you an American flag logo, piss on delay boxes, Going Bracket Racing shirt, and support the channel when you get time. That being said, George, what's going on in your neck of the woods over there?
Man, you said America, and all I can think about is John Force, probably in the early '90s, in an interview at the top end where he was singing "America, America." It's like, they snatched the mic out of his hand so quick. Hey, but you know what else is American? Them Great American Boys, dude. So we might as well start there, because guess what? It's July 9th. And if you've been watching GBR here the last few days, a few weeks, I would say, July 9th is the day that the Great American US 500K opens up for their pre-entry. Head on over to their site, get registered for One of the larger events of the year, tied with the largest events of the year, I would say there. I think there may be one other 500K happening this year. But you definitely don't want to miss this race on October 15th through the 19th out there in Montgomery, Alabama. 500 grand to the winner. And if you want to loan me $5 after you win it, or Casey $5, I'm sure we'd be glad to have an extra $5 in our wallets, courtesy of the winner of the 500 grander. So definitely get a shout out there to that race. Coming clean, new race that I've been fortunate to get the opportunity to promote here on Going Bracket Racing. Out of Jet Promotions, you have the Gold Cup Triple 10 case. It's the inaugural of this event as well, July 26th through 28th. That's at the end of this month. If you guys realize that we're in July already and that the month will be over before you blink a couple more times, this race will be right on your back door. I think it's at Empire Dragway, if I see that correctly, out there in the Northeast. You got any questions, contact Antoine Jet there. Telephone number there for you. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10 grand at the top, 2,000, and so on and so forth. As you see the flyer out in front of you, $400 get you in for the weekend, and that's some good numbers, man. And he ain't being mean to boxers either. So definitely a good race to check out. There's more. Wait. There's more. The TB race coming up next. $250,000 to win this event. If you fill up the event, I think TB and crew will hand you $100 at the gate. I almost said 1,000. TP, my bad. TB, my bad. Almost put you out there, but make sure you get a chance to visit this one too. It's gonna be a heck of a race. So Casey, you asked me what I had going on, man, and ain't much going on here on my end. We'll be racing this weekend out there at Extreme Raceway Park. Me and Mo have not been out but 2 times this year. And if it's hot, I don't give a care, because I'm coming out there. I'm going to sweat it out with the fellas out at Extreme Raceway. And hopefully we can get some good laps out there in old Mo, man. But glad to be back on another Tuesday. It was a pretty eventful weekend. What we got going on this show, Casey?
Well, first of all, I'm just going to repeat what I already said on the Going Bracket Racing Facebook page. If y'all aren't following that page, you definitely need to do that over there for a million different reasons. But holy Gage Burch, man. I mean, dude wins and runner-ups to himself in the 10 grander, splits and quits in the finals with Donovan Williams, his best buddy, in the 20 grander the following day. Then he's in the finals for the 100 grander the following day. And I mean, if anything was showing it, then of course the next race, the second 100 grander, ended up getting caught by rain. Good call as far as I'm concerned. I'm not terribly far from Rockingham Dragway, 2.5 hours or so, but the weather kind of proceeds on its way. I'm east of Rockingham, so it's kind of on its way out to the ocean usually at that point. And I know it rained like crazy at my house. It rained about 2 inches, probably in, I don't know, maybe an hour at the most on Sunday. So, which we needed it. So I'm not complaining about that. But it hadn't rained here in like a month, like anything meaningful. So I assume that probably went through Rockingham. It rained the night before. They canceled the race. So I would say that was probably a good decision on Kyle Riley's part to cancel the following day and let everybody kind of get on their way home. They did split up. There might have been 90 drivers left split up. I mean, it was 100K just to win. So for a third round non-compete, just being in third round, you got at least over $1,000. So I don't really see anybody being that mad about that when they were planning on driving home that day anyway. The following day, I should say, but because that was whenever they would have held it over until Sunday if they were really going to do it. But like I said, the rain came, is what it is. Gage Burch, man, what can you say about this? In a door car, in a wagon, with a roof rack, mind you, going 16, 6-0, something like that, maybe 20, somewhere in that area, doing wheelies, dropping it at the finish line. I mean, dude, I guess the one thing I want to ask is Gage Burch, first of all, I guess there's a 2-part question here. Did I piss Gage Burch off about saying Corey Galletti was going to be the greatest of all time? Number one. And number two, is Gage Burch going to be the greatest of all time? Because
Hey,
they're the
man.
same age, man. Him and Donovan and Corey are all pretty much the same age, and all of them are in the running for that. Donovan's dad is considered more than likely the greatest bracket racer of all time right now. Are these kids going to surpass what the old man's done? And, man, there's a lot of questions here. There's a lot to unpack. But I got to say one more thing. Is the fact that Gary has played a big part in at least these two guys. I don't know how much in Corey's career, but at least Gage and Donovan grew up together. So is Gary Williams, I've said this time in and time out, the person who can tune the carburetor is not as smart as the person who invented the carburetor. So Gary Williams, having had a big hand in these two young guys' racing career, does that still make him the best no matter what they do?
This is one of the reasons why the GOAT conversation is so hard to have in bracket racing. You could take from every other conversation that we see the word GOAT, NBA, MLB, whatever sport that we're talking about in that current point in time. Everybody always pays homage to the person who done it before them. So it's tough, man, because right now we have such a crop of drivers coming out of, you know, kind of that age group. You name three of them right off the rip that's in that age group. I would have to say I think Bohannon's somewhere in that age group as well. That have, you know, these are guys that have really been tough to take down, you know. So it's tough to have that GOAT conversation currently. I'm just glad I get to watch it unfold. There's such a plethora of ways to watch. I think I heard you mention you'd spoken to one of the longtime GBR followers. He may have watched 50-something live streamed events over the weekend, man. That's saying a lot in my opinion. Luckily, we're all able to watch it. That's what I want to say there. But as far as Gage Burch goes, I don't know what you could have done to take him out of that type of a groove, except for the good Lord calling on rain. You jokers were in trouble out there at Rockingham by way of one Gage Burch, and I'll say under the same breath, Donovan Williams. He was in a groove too. He was knocking them down too. So, but I've only ever seen one other driver who's in the conversation almost sweep the whole weekend. Like, that would have been one to talk about, period. 3 checks at your door when you get done when you get done with racing for the weekend. That's saying a lot, Casey. But let's talk about it, because that's what I think is more important. The groove, man. Let's talk about what it takes to get in that type of a groove in the first place. Before we do that, take a look at the YouTube chat. It looks like we got a couple of comments over there. We'll pull those apart. But open discussion style, guys. Let us know what you think about what we're talking about. The groove. The groove. Go ahead, Casey.
Dottie Performance. Some of the GOATs never make it out of their home track. That's 100% correct, and I've seen that time and time again. I say that all the time about John Renalowski. You all may know about him now that TV's out there and we bring Motor Mania out to St. Louis and things like that. But John Renalowski, I've said that a million times, that I think that he is at the level that Nick Hastings is and was a couple years ago. But John's got to go to work 9 to 5 every single week. So that's number one. So I agree with that 100%. Troy Abercrombie, that's who you were referring to earlier, as far as Troy might have been the very first Going Bracket Racing follower, to be honest with you, man. I've been talking to him quite a bit this week. He says, my house looked like Mission Control this weekend, live streams in every room. And but we were talking this weekend also. We'll go into that in a little bit, but you were asking, what do you do when you get in this groove? What do you do whenever you what's it take to get in the groove? I would say, number one, being confident in your race car, number one. Number two, being confident in your abilities inside that race car. But I would say number three, man, being able to ride the wave of a 3 or 4 day race, being double entered, to ride it out till the end. I mean, sometimes you just get on a streak. Now, what I will say is I was watching Gage Burch pretty close, man, and obviously everybody gets some lucky rounds, but man, even when guys red lighted against him, he's 7 total, 12 total, stuff like that. I mean, Gage isn't, he was there. If, like, yes, obviously, if the other guy was green, who knows what could have happened. However, the fact of the matter is, him being someone's red and you're 00, that means that you're ready for whatever's happening. And he was out driving people at the finish line like crazy. People can say whatever they want, but the fact of the matter is, you don't go 3 days in a row, go into 3 finals in a row, one of which you win and runner up to yourself. So you literally beat everybody in every entry you had. I mean, you don't do that lucking your way through. You might, I've seen people luck their way to a race win. I've watched people have every single person red light against them to a race win. You don't do that 3 days in a row, not at this level of an event.
Yeah, that's a fact, Casey. If you remember, what was your number one? I kind of want to tear it down. I think it was confidence. So let's tear it down in order and go in a little bit more detail, guys. I feel like what you're referring to, Casey, here is, man, we let go of the button. We know we felt good when we let go. Get to 330, man, we ahead. We feel great. Get to the finish line and that win light turns on. What does that win light do to us, especially after we've seen 2 or 3 of them come on? Because I'll speak for myself. If I see 2 or 3 good, it's almost like basketball. If I see 1 3-pointer go through the net, the next 6 that come off my hand might be trouble for you that game. Is basically what I'm getting at. As an ex-athlete, I'm not an athlete no more, but that's kind of how I weigh it. If I let go of the button and I'm 00 and that felt good, or I'm teen and that felt double and that felt good, and I get to the end and I get a win light, those win lights have compounding confidence in my opinion. Talk to me about that, Casey. Do you feel the same? Talk to me about that, chat. Once you see 1 win light, is that, well, let's just say more than 1, because you can see the first round win light and then the second one might not turn on. You get the 3rd round or 4th round and those win lights are starting to add up. What does that do to your confidence?
I think the first thing it does is, obviously, it doesn't hurt your confidence because you're winning your way through. I would say in this particular scenario, let's say we're in 3rd round. You turn both win lights on 3rd round. The thing that I've been in that position before, and the thing is, once you get to 3rd and 4th round, Gage was still doubled in 6th round of that 100 grander before he finally got beat. And hadn't been beat all weekend, by the way. But when you're in 5th round and you turn on both win lights and you're sitting here like, man, I was perfect on that one, and I was, you go up for the next run. If you're perfect and it's 5th round, you're liable to at least be like, I'm just going to add 1 in, If you're still doubled, I don't do that, and it takes that totally out of your mind. You're like, it was green. Or even if you were like 2 red, there's chance I'm not going to add anything to it still if I'm still doubled, because I'm like, man, I really got a hold of it that time. If I miss it next time, I'll still be 6, 8, 12, even if I miss it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's where really the advantage is to being like, okay, I don't have to overthink this. I don't have to put a lot of effort in thinking about this. I can think about, I'm running this guy. I'm dialed this. I think he's going to do this. If this looks like this, I'm going to do that. If it doesn't, this is what I'm going to do. It just makes it to where you don't have to worry about something that you probably shouldn't be worrying about, but you have to worry about if you have 1 entry still going down to the round of 16.
One less thing to think about, basically, is what I hear you saying. When I come off the burnout box, I'm so confident on the tree at this point in the race that is one less thing that I have to worry about. If I turn it not red, if I turn it pink, it is what it is at that sits, because it's probably going to be 1 or 2 thou, and the confidence level's still good, especially if you're doubled, right?
Yeah.
But in continuing the conversation, we know that we're talking about the type of a racer in Gage Burch, that if he lets go of the button, he can probably in his own mind call within a certain amount of error there, what type of light that he had off the hit. So you hear a lot of us live streamers, should I say, a lot of the announcers at said races say, "Oh man, don't let him get going. Don't let him get to seeing those wind lights turn on." We have to pay attention as not only fans of said live stream, but as racers, what it actually means to see the wind light come on that many times. And I kind of don't care who you are as a racer. In that car, if every racer had a GoPro, I promise you, you're seeing something. Yeah. Oh yeah, something is going on, hitting your head. I don't know, because your groove is in. You're in that mode is on. You know what I mean? So if you don't feel that way, the passion ain't there no more. I think you should just hang it up, in my opinion. When that electricity turns on, if it's not doing something to you, especially fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round coming up, and man, you done seen all those wind lights and you not pumped, it might be time to hang it up, in my opinion. What do you think, Casey?
Yeah, man, Frank Morton over here in the YouTube chat, 100% right. You get several stacked up in a row, you start getting in the zone. The rounds hopefully start moving a little quicker, so there's less downtime to overthink stuff. Bracket racing is a mental game, and that last portion of that comment is exactly right. Bracket racing is a mental game, and that's why I still believe 75% of all races are won on the starting line. And they're won, and I'm not saying won because you got a better reaction time. I'm saying won because you didn't get in a staging duel when you didn't need to. You didn't care that you got pushed into the other lane. You didn't care that everybody started slowing down that round, and maybe maybe yours doesn't. Maybe, whatever the case may be. Most of the rounds are won not in bracket racing as much as like heads up racing. They always say races are won in the garage, but any motorsport. That's true to an extent, but I think that a lot of bracket racing is very mentally capable people that understand what things look like. And I think that's why so many bracket racers you see that do get the opportunity to run professional level cars. That's why they do so well, because there's so many things going on in a bracket car that doesn't happen in a fuel car, because you're more concerned about going down the track and making stuff happen down the track, running your own race. You've already learned to run your own race in bracket car. Pro stock car, same deal. You're concentrating on your own thing. Every time that you're shifting gears, you're just hitting the tree again. Like every time that light comes on, you're hitting the tree again. Ultimately, I think that someone who, I'll use a perfect example. One of my buddies out here, Matthew Medlin, we give him crap all the time because he's just always kind of moseying along. He doesn't care. He doesn't get wound up. If he's winning, doesn't get wound up. If he's losing, he doesn't get wound up. But he's always there, and he's always tough, and he's always winning rounds, and he's usually the last one in out of our group of friends. And that's why, though. It's because of the fact that he doesn't get wound up. So the ability to stay calm. And if you saw Gage, in fact, I got my little list over here. Gage was the second episode of GBR this year. Gage Burch was on here.
That's right.
And if you notice, Gage is that guy. He's a calm guy. You can tell he just doesn't get wound up about things. He doesn't care that he's running himself at 8 cars or whatever. He's not pumped up. He's not just like, I don't know what you'd say. I want to say monotone, but that's obviously a speaking thing. But sure. That in your mind.
Sure.
He's not a one-track mind. He's definitely thinking about stuff, but it's just he doesn't get wound up. Sure. And I think that's half of people's issue. You let your emotions get the better of you.
I want to expand on it a little bit. First, I see Timbo Speed over here on our YouTube channel, and he found us a couple of weeks ago. I think you said here, and this is the first time getting to catch us live. Timbo, welcome to GBR, man. Thanks for being part of the community. And special shout out to you, getting to catch us live and everything like that, man. And and as well as to everybody else commenting both on YouTube and Facebook. We can't have conversations like this without you guys, so keep those comments coming. Hit that like, hit that share button. Let's get these bleachers, whatever you want to call them, let's get them full. But Casey, man, you've said a lot, dude. You've said a lot, in my opinion, about the groove, but your number 2 aspect of the groove. And this is something that I feel like we might harp on this a little bit as a topic here at Going Bracket Racing. And seat time might be what we want to call it here at Going Bracket Racing, but I'm going to go a little bit further. Let's call it seat time in eliminations, okay? Because you can get a lot of seat time outside of eliminations, but it is completely not the same, okay? The pressure of eliminations is not upon you whenever you're just at a test and tune, which we hope you get to do quite a bit. You know, unfortunately, I don't get a lot of test and tune, and I definitely need more, right? That is seat time as well, in my opinion. But man, let's talk about how important it is to race and get confident in your vehicle in crunch time. Casey, you mentioned it as your number 2 aspect to getting that groove, is being confident in your machine. I've never seen Gage Burch in this machine. I don't know if you had. This was the first time I think I'd seen that particular wagon. Talk to me about Gage's ability to jump in probably any vehicle, in my opinion, and be this good.
I mean, I've always said that's the reason why I've kind of always gone back to Scotty, I think, being the best, because he can win in anything. I personally have always thought that someone who can get in someone else's car and win, I don't care if that's a good car or not. It doesn't matter, because if you get in, you know, a car with a real long nose that could drop the nose and take the beams versus a dragster or something, dragster to dragster, they all are kind of the same. The noses are the same length. They're going to take the stripe the same. They're going to carry speed the same. Everything's the same. But door car drivers, man, those guys who can get in a car that they haven't driven week in and week out and then just dominate, I mean, it's just a different thing, because especially a back half door car, because a back half door car, sometimes they have stock brakes on the back. Sometimes they have 4 pistons all the way around. Sometimes they have, some people still have drum brakes on all 4 corners of the cars. They don't stop the same. They don't kill ET the same. The car, when a car is dialed 650, aerodynamics actually matter if you have a headwind. You know, so the facts are that the greatest racers in my mind can get in someone else's car and win. And there are very few people that can make a non-winning car a winning car. There might be 2 or 3 that have ever existed that can do that. Most people need to rely on the car. I would say that's probably 90% of people, because ultimately you can't hold 2 numbers if you don't know you're holding 2. If you think you're holding 2 and you're holding 4 and you try to kill 2, guess what? That didn't work out. And vice versa. You know, if you think you're holding 2 but you're going dead on, doesn't work. The level of understanding that it takes to see the race developing down the track and know, hey, I thought I was holding 2, but it sure doesn't look like I'm holding 2, and this doesn't make any sense. But what if that guy's holding 2, covering up my 2, and, you know, and making the right decisions? And I have no idea how to do that. I think I really think that Scotty Richardson can do that. I think Gary Williams can kind of do that. I don't understand, and I think if it was easy to understand, people would study it and figure it out,
right.
Or teach it in their classes. But I think there's only 2 people in the entire world of bracket racing that can understand it felt like this, it felt like that. That's why, if you go back, I mean, me and you have talked about this for hours. And I told you a million times, I'm like, dude, Scotty has figured out where I don't know that he wants to be 00 on the tree in certain runs.
Sure.
I think that he has something figured out where he does not want to actually be better on the tree than you to win this race.
Or even in that matter. And it's a matter of seat time. I don't know the analytics behind this either, man, but you see a lot of times where these good racers are running each other, and one of them might be 00, but the other might be 20, and who actually gets the win light? in that instance.
Yeah.
Because I'll call them magic tricks or hide and go seek in a race car. They can do something in those vehicles that you just can't do. And they do it to each other. It's like, I wonder, I think I heard somebody say, it may have been Troy Williams, where he was racing Hastings, where he was like, I'm gonna try to be 00 and I'm gonna try to take 10. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
What did he just tell you in a roundabout way? All right, I'm gonna try to be 00 up here, and I don't care what it looks like on the racetrack. I don't care how far out in front of me he is. He's got to let me back into the race where I'm going to try to take 10. Okay? The majority of us are like, I'm letting go 00, and I mean, I see him over there. I might not even look. Shoot, if Gary Williams in the other lane, I might look in the bleachers. He over
And
here.
to be honest with you,
Be looking that way. Gary's over here. Nuh-uh. Gage Burch is right there. I seen a bird fly by. Yep.
To be honest with you,
I ain't turning around. I ain't looking at none of you jokers.
that might be the best decision in those scenarios, because ultimately, I mean, I'm not going to be as good as them ever. You're not going to be as good as them ever. Probably 90% of people will never be as good as those guys. Your best option might be hit the tree and don't even look at them, and just maybe, if anything, look back and make sure they're not broke on the starting line and just go. Because ultimately, with what they're doing is, them holding numbers doesn't benefit them in any way if you're not looking at them. Because if you hit the tree and run the number, them holding numbers is irrelevant. If you miss the tree and they're not running the number, yeah, that helps them. But ultimately, they're going to run dead on anyway. Their cars are good. They got that stuff figured out. They know how to go dead on.
This is case in point, in my opinion, that we've been talking about this whole time. You've turned on 5 win lights. This is the 5th round. I don't care what race it is. All of us have, if you've played any type of basketball, we've all been outside dribbling around and said 3, 2, 1 and shot it, and that something gonna went in. We've all done that, right? We've all closed our eyes as bracket racers and had thoughts of, oh, it's the final round and I gotta let go of this, that. You have the groove is on your side. And in my opinion, after I know that after a certain amount of win lights, even if it is whoever it is in the other lane, I will feel comfortable, especially in one of my dad's vehicles, which will rename. I will not mention to nobody which one I'm talking about. But it's just one of those cars where if I get in the groove on the tree, I know that car is going to be there within a certain amount of foul at the finish line. I'm not looking at nothing you got going on at that point. You know what? They know it too, in my opinion. Those racers that are that good, they're looking inside of your window to see you. They're watching you look at them. Like, oh, you looking, huh? And it's probably got a big old smile on their face because you're paying attention to them. I don't know. But when you're in a groove, none of that matters, in my opinion. When you found your groove, I don't care what driver you are, you got a groove in yourself as the driver, you've got a groove, your car's running like it needs to be running, you're going to turn on a lot of win lights. That's all I got to tell you. That's it.
And I'd like to see, this is a Michael Beard question, or even a Ryan Gleghorn question. What is the average, what would the percentage base be that the driver who beats their opponent on the tree wins the race? Because, and the reason I say that is because everybody's going to be like, duh, Casey, obviously the more you're ahead on the tree, the more you're ahead in the race, obviously. However, there's a lot of times where people don't win races like that. But a hit the tree and run the number guy, if you are on average better on the tree than your opponents, or above average on the tree, not even necessarily better on the tree, because you could just match them too, or not be terribly far behind. But if you can hit the tree and run the number, Nova fan over here in the YouTube chat just said it. 100% right. Best package wins every time. That is the truth. The best package will always win. 21 always beats 20 in blackjack. It just is what it is.
100%, Casey. So, guys, check this out. We're going to give our marketing partners a couple of minutes here to kind of push out what they got going on their ends. We're going to come back, and I'm going to go to one Quez the Ducks comment, and I think it leads us into the next portion of what we're going to talk about here live, episode 161 of Going Bracket Racing. Hang in there. We will be right back in just a few minutes.
TV promotions, It's the Larice Motorsports Insurance 250K, presented by Autoland Outlets. Join us July 25th through the 28th at US 131 Motorsports Park in Martin, Michigan. Pre-entry opens May 14th for just $15.99, gets you into 250s and a $250K to win race. And if it sells out, you get $100 back. So join us this summer, the only place to be, the Larice Motorsports Insurance 250K, presented by Autoland Outlets.
We've completely redesigned our best-selling thermostat fan to make it even better. ProForm's high-performance universal 15-inch electric fan is the perfect upgrade to replace the stock fan in your vehicle. It's equipped with a thermostat that's adjustable from 160 to 240 degrees. Mounted to your radiator supports with sturdy brackets and driven by a heavy-duty motor, this unit pulls up to 2,800 CFM of air with a 14-amp current draw. All mounting hardware and wiring are included.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177. All right. Welcome back. Going Bracket Racing Live, episode 161. Can't be possible without our partners here. Team 14 Motorsports, TSR Racing Products, ProFan Parts, Crew Chief Pro, Driven Racing Oil, BRG Motorsports, 3D printed parts, 8th Mile Apparel, Syntex Printing, Ken Jones Performance, and those guys over at Your Ad Here. If you would like to become marketing partners over here with George and Casey, we can only promise the best customer service that you could ask for as far as for marketing goes. Feel free to get in contact with us at goingbracketracing@gmail.com. On the Going Bracket Racing Facebook page, you can message on one of these videos here. We will get alerts from your message that says that you want to get in contact with us. Thank you guys here at the Going Bracket Racing community, because you guys are what keeps us moving. All the comments on the YouTube side, I know you guys are out there listening in your trucks and cars on the way back from work or on the way to work. Maybe you're driving a truck, listening in on a podcast form. We can't do this without you guys. We appreciate you for being part of the GBR community, the best part of GBR at that. So, Casey, man, I said before we went into this commercial, I was going to pick on a one Quez the Duck. He dropped a comment in here that says, I love when lanes stack. If you don't know what lane stacking is, that means one lane has way more cars than the other, or even is empty. Everybody wants the right lane. And Quez says whenever that happens to him, he likes to if you ask what lane he wants, he says whatever lane you don't want. And it plays a mind game with them. So let's get off into it, Casey, because one thing that I feel like Gage Burch might not have superstitions. Okay? A lot of us have superstitions. I had them for a while. For a long time. I needed to do this, and that before pulling up to the stage beam. Talk to me, Casey, on your thoughts. Chat, talk to me about your thoughts on how superstitions may be helpful and may be harmful in the sport of bracket racing.
I'd say, I would say, in my opinion, superstitions hurt you more than they help you. I saw last week, we had Britt Cummings on here, and he was going to interview Buddy Farrell later on that night after our show was over. I watched that interview, and if you didn't get a chance to, you need to watch it as well. Everybody out there on the Great American Bracket Races Facebook page, but Buddy Farrell, one of the legends to do it, and Britt Cummings as well. They get to talking, and Britt says something about Kenny Underwood wouldn't run someone's car one day because there was a $5 bill or something in the glove box that he found, and he won't touch anything that's got green on it. Now, if I say that, a lot of people might be thinking about that. I hope you don't have a green car if you're going to worry about that. But Kenny Underwood's won a lot of races. There was a time, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that people were arguing no one was going to have a better season than Kenny Underwood had at that particular time. And look what's happened. It's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger ever since. But, so it's hard to say that one of the greatest who's ever done it would be wrong. But at the same time, I think that superstitions ultimately hurt you in your own mind. Because say you're a guy, for example, there's a lot of people, this is the number one superstition. I got to stage first or I got to stage last. If you could just get over that thing, you're beating yourself sometimes in your mind, especially when you get into a staging duel. I know this last weekend I can't remember who he was running, but Dink Holmes, a guy who always does really good racing out here in the Virginia, North Carolina area, and saw him get in a staging battle.
Was it with Gage Burch?
I feel like it was with Donovan, but I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, the point is neither one was going in, and both of them missed the tree. It didn't matter who went in first. They sat there, and both of them missed the tree. And I think that's one of those scenarios where, they kind of got in their own head, and there's so many things going on during a race. The reason I feel like it was Dink and Donovan, because I was like, what's gonna happen here? Because those guys are both very good racers. Dink won the Spring Fling a couple years ago at Galot. Donovan obviously wins everything there is to win. Both two very accomplished racers, and it even gets in their mind. So it just makes me wonder, is there even an upside to doing that? Because if you do get the guy who's hard-headed about it and doesn't want to go in, then have you already beaten yourself before this even happens? Because you got a whole lot of race left after that.
Yep. No, I'm sitting here reading through comments too, Casey. You make excellent points here. I'm reading Brad Gephardt's comment here. He says, mind games are for the weak-minded people. And that's of course always true, but I mean, you never know how people feel about that lane. I feel like I kind of got that's the same thought process that Quez uses from maybe Street Outlaws or something like that, where they flipped a coin for the lane, and the other guy will say, "Oh, I'll make my decision when I pull up here," or say, "Well, what lane did you want?" and I'll take that opposite lane. I feel like that with some people that would kind of be like, "Oh, you're overly confident," and then there are some people who you might feel like, "Oh, that's how you feel. You want to take the lane that I don't want. I'm really going to lay it to you now," and then that's how you end up getting your teeth kicked in a little bit worse. But Brad Gephardt says his only superstition is not carrying $50 bills. And he's broke, so he don't got very many $50 bills to carry. Well, I think I'll adopt that superstition as well. I don't got no 50s in my wallet. You know what I mean? So JJ Pennington also chimes in, Casey. I think this is one of those moments, Casey, where we might not be being suppressed by Facebook. Everybody's starting to comment at this particular point in time. You know what I mean? But he's saying, I'd like to answer. Hold on, wait. He had another comment. He says they can be helpful, as they can become part of your routine. However, you can also overthink. Keep on leaving comments. You can also overthink the superstition or cause yourself to rush if you forget to do something at a certain point. That's where I would go with what JJ said there. Wise man told me, and I'll leave his name anonymous, that he doesn't go into any type of a groove or superstition until that first pre-stage light is turned on. That's when he's almost in zero dark 30 mode. He doesn't go into a groove. He doesn't even try to clear his mind until the pre-stage lights turned on. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because everything else is irrelevant up until that point. You know what I mean? Keeping out the music had to stop at this point, or I had to get in my dragster from the right side as opposed to the left, or I checked the left tire before I checked the right tire and tire pressure. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All those things could easily throw you off if one of those things aren't done in the same order. So definitely great comment coming out of JJ Pennington there.
Yeah, man, I saw it. It's funny that you say that about the getting in the dragster on your right or your left or whatever, because I had a buddy one time that his big deal was something along the lines of that. And he got all the way in the car and got strapped in. And he was so crazy about his superstitions, he had to get out. He said, "I don't remember if I got in on this side or that side. Do you remember?" I said, "No, man, I don't remember. Why? What do you think I'm paying attention to you for like that?" And he said, I got to get out and do it again. I have to. And I'm just like, you can't tell me this is beneficial. Now, he did go off and win the round, so maybe it was.
Right.
But I'm like, when it gets to the point that it's this in your mind, this cannot be helpful.
Yeah, and I think there's a fine line too, and I'm just kind of pulling still words from JJ Pennington's post there. And there's a fine line between routine and superstition, in my opinion, where I put my left glove on first, my right glove on, or better yet, here's my routine. I put my helmet on, but first I take my glasses off. Well, that's routine because I don't have a choice. I have to put my glasses on pretty well the same way each time inside of the helmet. It is what it is. So some of those things are actually not necessarily superstitions, but it's just how it works. You know what I mean? So I guess case in point, what I'm trying to say here is everything must have been going right for Gage Burch if he has superstitions, because we watched multiple days in a row, Casey, and you've alluded to this within this particular stream where you said, man, it wasn't like it was just one day worth of the groove. It was days in a row, and people had to go to sleep, and people stay up late sometimes and get social. You know what I mean? So to do it so many days in the row, one would make me believe that he didn't have any superstitions. Everything is just going perfectly at that point.
I don't think whenever you're still double entered in 6th round, you have time to have a superstition, because there were times that he'd be making a run and they're essentially calling him back to the lanes while he's getting ready to stage. So he's got time to go back, fuel up the car. Hopefully he has 2 batteries. Hopefully he has an alternator. Car never died. It always started. So presumably he did.
Right.
But I'm telling you, man, like that's another thing. One thing that I would like to say about that whole deal is notice beyond the winning, beyond the round wins, look at how Gage Burch would bring it right back around. And look at, that's the type of car you need to double enter. And I'm not saying you need a Vega wagon with a roof rack. I'm not saying you need to go this ET. I'm saying if you're going to double enter races and you intend on winning those races, then you need to be able to go to the trailer, fill it up with fuel, and go right back to the staging lanes, which is what he did. He knew what it was going to run when it was hot versus when it was cold. And that's one thing that always gets me, is that pretty much any big money race anymore, there's a lot of double entries, and there's always the last guy that's doubled, and it's usually still at 16 cars or something. And we're waiting for our double to come around. And it's like, man, everything has the capability anymore. Dragsters, door cars, everything, to have 2 batteries in it and to run an alternator. The alternators don't take horsepower as much as they used to. We have the ability to make horsepower a lot more than we need anymore. 200ths isn't going to matter in bracket racing. Think about setting your car up for what you really want to do with it. And that was one positive comment that I had on the fact that we were never waiting on Gage Burch. And I think that that's what a lot of people need to take away from this also.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'd hear the announcer say Gage Burch back to the lanes. Well, he wasn't out of the lanes that long. And definitely one of the quicker drivers to get back to the lanes, in my opinion, as well. But I got a couple of other comments in here, Casey. I feel like Driven would like it if I talked about them. And on this Facebook side here, we got our friend Cody Newman over there in the Canada is talking about he just got done getting him some Driven Racing Oil. And old Brad Gephardt shouts out Driven Racing Oil, saying we tried it because of this podcast, and it's been phenomenal. It looks so good. I felt bad about changing it after 70 runs on alcohol.
I've been there.
That's what I'm talking about. So, hey, guys, if you didn't know, that old GBR 10 to get you 10% off that Driven Racing Oil, Casey tell you every single show, for crying out loud.
And I'm telling you from experience, I'll post some pictures tomorrow. My phone is incapacitated right now. It looks like a plaid shirt. So if anybody's trying to get a hold of me, you're going to have to wait. I think I got a new phone coming on Thursday or something. But whenever my dad was here, he has this old bigger trailer. And it's one of those ones that's never been washed a day in its life, probably. He got it second, third, fourth hand, something like that. But you know those black streaks they all get, and they look terrible when they've never been waxed. We used the Driven Speed Clean on that. And, dude, it doesn't look brand new, but I bet you if you buy a trailer, let's just say you buy a trailer for $5,000, and it looks like that, and you spray it down, it takes 3 cans of Driven Speed Clean to do a 20-foot trailer, all of it. And I bet you the next day you post it up for $1,000 more, you sell it. Like, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, I mean, I don't know what I think that stuff's like $6 a can or something. So you're talking literally making your trailer look not brand new. I think if you buffed it, if you really want to take the time and you actually took a buffer to it, it could look brand new after this. But you're talking about a trailer that looks absolutely terrible. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. Those ones that sat under the tree forever, never got washed, sat outside. And you use a couple cans of that Driven Speed Clean. So $6, $12, $18, $20, let's just say $20 worth of Driven Speed Clean. Dude, actually, it'd be cheaper than that because you use GBR10, get yourself 10% off. But I'm telling you, if you buff that thing, it could look brand new again. It's crazy.
Man. Yeah, man, I definitely agree. I washed my wife's car just the other day, and I promise you, I sprayed that Speed Clean on the front bumper because that's where all the bugs were. Yeah, man, the bugs weren't there, and a wipe. I one good wipe, and it was gone. Well, then I took the Driven wax and sprayed it on there and shined it right on up too. So, man, anyway,
well, I gotta say this show can't end without us talking about WFC, the biggest foot brake race of the year.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So we got to talk about WFC, not just the car count. The car count's always great because it's literally the most prestigious foot brake race of the entire year. I always say it's the OG million of the foot brake side of things. 480 entries, maybe more. 375 entries or so just in the Thursday night gamblers race. So I guess the first thing I want to say is what do these numbers say about this race? Because this isn't a race that pays an extravagant amount of money. It's just a race that is what it is. Like I said, it's just like the OG Million. There are races that are better deals. There are races that pay more. People go because they want to say, I won the WFC. The WFC, where all the races are, where there was 480 entries this year or more. It might have been 482. I'm not 100% certain. But what did the numbers say about this race?
The numbers say it all. And one thing that I can tell you that it's saying is destination. There are so many people who have this particular race on their bucket list of things to go and do. I spoke to Paige Hamlin. She was there. Great job driving, by the way. I seen you go quite a few rounds. I think I seen you kind of give Scooter a choke, put Scooter in a chokehold. Scooter ended up running up one of those races too. So, hey, us Texas folks, you got to watch out for us. On the bottom, on the top, don't matter. You got to watch out if you're running somebody from Texas. Anyway, I'm talking trash. Casey, man, back to your question. It's Bristol, baby. That's what everybody needs to say. You know what I mean? It's in the mountain. It's gonna rain once or twice, but it's still gonna be fun. They obviously got to have some good food out there, or somebody cooking something good, because you got to eat good while you're there. It's Bristol, and then you got Pennington. Jared's the one running the race. You know what I mean? So JJ's on the mic. Got Gleghorn on the mic. You got Motor Mania in the building. Heck, man, it's a destination. It's a bucket list item. That's why, you know. And it's only going to continue to get bigger and better. And somebody let me drive their no-box car. I want to see what this is all about. Foot brake. I don't care. I'll foot brake. Let's go.
And the best part about the WFC, I have a lot of friends that go to the WFC every year because obviously it's like 4 hours from us. North Carolina, going to Bristol. Bristol's basically a North Carolina, Tennessee line for the most part. You're going up. It's not an easy drive as far as incline goes, depending on what kind of truck you have and what kind of rig you got. But it's an easy drive as far as easy directions. One of the things that I think sets the WFC apart from everything, not just foot brake, not like I'm talking about in a live streamed event as a whole, is the media coverage in the pits. And you got Cade Caulfield running around asking questions, giving people hats, historical questions about the WFC. You got Jared and Ryan interviewing racers. I'm sure Cade's done that as well. I know JJ's interviewed racers in the pits. I was just watching some of them before we started the show. I was watching I think it was actually Jared's brother had about, man, that dude had like 20 years of bad luck in 12 hours. And if y'all haven't seen this interview, you need to go see it, because this guy, I mean, he had to have blown like 3 or 4 tires, and then he couldn't find the right tire or something. And then he's changing, and it was hot, man. Everybody knows it was hot. You just need to go watch some of the pit interviews they've had. He interviewed a guy, so that would have been the Hard Luck Award. Seth Lancaster, I think, gave him a run for his money on all that. Ended up welding up a header and then destroyed a rear end to the point that it split the yoke in half. Still was in the race at that particular time they were interviewing him. Got to interview Phil Billy Combs on this beautiful 72 Nova that he just got done putting together. Just telling the stories of racing, man. Like what people see every time someone wins a race, they see the winner's circle picture and the runner-up picture, and maybe you get a winner's or runner-up interview. But they don't hear the stories of like what happens, like the stories you're telling your buddies whenever it's raining at the track and you're all hiding out in the trailer, or it's wintertime. If you're somebody like Cody Newman, where it's cold a lot of the time out of the year, you're standing in the shop. The stories that you're telling your buddies and you're all laughing about, they're interviewing people as they're happening or as they just got done happening. And that's what is cool. That's what made magazines great back in the day. That's what makes shows like this great. That's what makes live streaming great. And we need to utilize the ability we have to live stream now to do things like the WFC is doing. They're one of the few people that go this far out of their way to get these types of interviews. And I just wanted to commend Colberg Promotions and everybody that has anything to do with it. I mean, of all things, bring back the write-ups, man. Jessica Hicks Spears, great write-up on what happened at the event. Where are these things at? We have so many events going on, and everybody wonders, like, why aren't more people getting involved? Where the information isn't out there, but it's there. You just have to bring it to the people. So, and there's plenty of people. The coolest thing is that I feel like these interviews show the love for the sport, because the people they interviewed weren't in these scenarios, obviously. They weren't winning races. They were having a terrible day, man. Like maybe one of the worst days of their life.
Right.
If you watch Jared's brother when he was interviewing him, this is probably the worst day of this dude's life, you know, as far as going racing goes. But it's showing that these people are still having a good time. It's because they love the sport. And if you can show people that you could still have fun when you are having the absolute worst day ever and the worst luck ever, like I said, this dude had 20 years of bad luck in about 12 hours. And if you can show that, people are like, man, I want to be a part of that. That's why people go to the WFC.
Right. Hey, man, all I know is good job. People don't hear that enough. And shouts out to Colberg, all the racers that attended and actually went out there and supported the event. Good job. Good job to SFG. Shouts out to having a race in It's So Hot. I don't know what else to say about it. That's how hot it is. Okay. But still having a race and having a great turnout. Everything running great. You know, shouts out to whoever else is out there that I don't even get to mention. If you're throwing a drag race, hey, shout out to you. You know what I mean? And you guys don't get to hear a good job enough. So good job on what you do. Casey, man, what you got in closing, man? This was a pretty good show called Getting in the Groove. And again, Gage Burch was in the groove, sir. Period. If he'd have swept the whole weekend, man, I'd have canceled GBR for the day. I don't even want to talk about it. You know what I mean?
There's a very good chance that if Gage Burch would have had that fourth day, he might have had the most round wins in a weekend ever. It was unbelievable, man. I mean, I remember telling my wife at probably 10:30 at night, I'm sitting here and I'm like, Gage is still doubled in sixth round. And he had, again, won and runner up, split and quit with Donovan, and then he was still doubled going into sixth round of the 100, which he inevitably runnered up.
Yep.
And if he would have had that extra day,
yeah.
If he would have had that extra day, man, I don't think there would have been more rounds in one weekend. I mean, that's a Ryan Gleghorn question for sure. A Michael Beard question also. how many is the most round wins in a big money event weekend?
Yep.
Because Gage has to be in the top 5 now.
Man, yeah, and we know that. I think Nasty Nick got on a run like that at one point.
Yeah.
I can't remember what race it was, but it seemed like he won everything. Might have been at Holly Springs or something during the Dream Team race, maybe.
Right. Nick has swept a couple races, maybe 3. I mean, he's the only one I can think of that's had that absolute dominant level across a multiple day weekend.
Man.
I mean, it's bottom line. Gage Burch probably is in the top 5. I can't imagine that he's not in the top 5 of most round wins in a weekend.
He's got to have ice in his veins. And maybe his heart stops or something. I don't really know. Let's put a heart monitor on this man and see what happens. Yeah, he might be. He is not human. We are not the same. Gage Burch is a Martian. I don't know, dude. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but put a heart monitor on that man. See what his heart rate is when he stages up. I bet you it's real low. So no, mine ain't. I can see myself breathing real hard in that GoPro. So I know something ain't right. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us on another episode of Going Bracket Racing. It's the 161st episode. Thanks for everything that you do for us in the GBR community, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Take it easy. Turn on some wind lights.